How about now? Anybody see anything? Okay, it says it's live, or at least here. Can you see it? Ah, something went wrong.
This is live. There you are.
I'm there. I'm on it.
I think so.
Okay, I said something. Oh my gosh. Okay, can you tell people in the other chat if they didn't see it, then this is where we are now?
Okay.
John, did you find it?
I don't know what that.
I am so sorry about the delays. We had major technical issues, and my son, who usually helps me with the technical issues, is out of town for the week. So my daughter and I are here completely scrambling. I hope you can find it. Oh, I'm so sorry. We're going to get this figured out. Okay. Anyone joining, Elena?
Lots of people. We have 20 people watching.
Right now?
Yeah.
Oh, good. I'm so glad. Okay. Well, I need a break after all that technology. Okay. Okay. Yes. No, I have not. I haven't started yet. Okay. So let me wash my hands real quick and then we'll get started. So today we are making an American flag pie to celebrate the 4th of July. And I just had someone send me a message from Canada saying today is Canada Day. And I wish I'd known we could have done a Canadian flag. That would have been fun too next time. But thank you so much for joining us. It just is so fun to do these lives, and I want to do more because I feel so connected. My daughter is going to help read out. My daughter's going to help read out the comments. So feel free to send questions along the way and I'll answer them. And I think that's everything. If you want to follow along on the recipe, it's on my website, mariesaba.com, and it's the American flag pie. You can go to the bottom and get a PDF and print it out. And then what I always suggest is punch some holes in it, put it in a notebook, and you'll have it there for yourself forever. And then also, if you want to pass recipes down to kids, grandkids, this makes a really special Christmas gift if you include all your favorite recipes. And of course, you can see I make notes all over mine, so you should too. You want the recipe to be well loved. Okay, so let's start with the homemade crust. We are going to make my latest ultra flaky pie crust. Also, comment where you're watching from. I'd love to hear where everyone's watching from. And Elaine, you can read some out in a minute.
Already, Marie Acuna said greetings from Riverbank, California.
Oh, California. Hello. So glad you're here. So glad you're learning to make a homemade pie crust. I'm always so inspired by people who have always been intimidated by making pie crust, and yet they're here and they want to learn and they're giving it a try. So good for y'all. Okay, we're going to start with 1 1/4 cup all-purpose flour. And I'm making it in a food processor. If you want, I can make it in a bowl with my hands after this one, but this is my favorite way to make the pie crust. It's really easy and just makes it go really quick. So next up is 1 tablespoon sugar. And I always say, even if you don't want to include a lot of sugar, you can use a teaspoon. That's going to help with browning and also help balance flavors. The tablespoon will make it a little sweeter, but not like too sweet. Next is 1/2 teaspoon baking powder. So this is kind of a secret ingredient. It's going to give your pie crust some puff. And I feel like it helps, especially beginner pie crust makers, because it helps prevent a really stiff bottom crust. Sometimes that can get really, really stiff. So baking powder is going to help give that some puff, give it some lightness, and so help make your crust lighter in that way. Then we need some salt. We'll do 1/4 teaspoon salt, and then mix our dry ingredients together.
People are so cute.
Oh, they are. My daughter said, wow, people are so sweet. Or she said, they're so cute. And it really is the truth. Whenever people ask me about, doing videos on Instagram, they say, oh, you must get all these trolls and mean comments. What am I doing? I'm going to stop talking. Don't do that. Don't do that. And I always say, no, this is like the bright spot on the internet. Really sweet people. So I am so grateful. Next step is 1 stick of unsalted butter. Let me grab that. This is 1 stick. It's 1/2 cup unsalted butter. It's 113 grams. And if you do want to use salted butter, you can. That is a question that I get a lot. And if you do, you'll just omit the salt that we just added. I just out of habit, my mom always bought unsalted, so that's just what I use.
Is it okay if it's like refrigerated, or is there like a?
Yes. My daughter asked, should it be refrigerated, or how does that work? And yes, you do want to have cold butter, always cold. That's why I leave it in the refrigerator until it's time to use it. You want it nice and cold because in your pie crust, you want to have little pieces of butter in the pie crust. And then when you roll it out, you're going to have pieces of butter still there. And then when it goes in the oven, it's going to melt, release steam, and that's going to help create flakes. So you always do want to have cold butter. By contrast, if you have warm butter, that's going to mix in too much with the flour. And so you're just going to have, almost like a cookie dough. It'll be mixed in too much, and you won't have those pockets of butter creating that steam. So that is why if you've tried to make a pie crust or read a recipe, it always says to keep the butter nice and cold. So I just cut this into some pieces, about half tablespoon size, I guess. Get all that in there. And then we're going to pulse that 10 times. The goal is to kind of cut the butter into the flour. And if you're using your hands or a pastry cutter, it's the same thing. You're just cutting the butter into the flour. And the goal is to have some big pieces. Like here we have a really big piece. It's too big, but it'll get cut up in the next mixture. And then you have some smaller pieces of butter. So various size pieces of butter. And so that's just right. Next is our liquid. And for this ultra flaky pie crust, I am going to use vodka. If you don't use vodka or had somebody comment, I can't buy vodka, I'm underage. Don't worry, you don't have to use vodka. You can use water. I've used water forever, for many, many years making pie crust, but I like the way vodka helps. I think it makes it more tender, makes it more flaky. So I do like using vodka. Yes.
Karen asked, can you mix cake in a food processor?
Cake.
Yeah.
Cake, like cake batter. I don't love doing cake or pizza dough, like bread dough in the food processor, because it gets really, really, really sticky. If you have a stickier batter, it sticks on these really sharp blades. And I am so scared of these blades because I've cut myself on them so many times. So the idea of pulling off a really sticky batter from the blades, it makes me nervous and I don't like to do it. So I did do strawberry shortcakes, and that video is coming up. I did do those in the food processor. So it's great for that, but I don't recommend it if you get to a really sticky batter that you're going to have to scrape off of the blades. But great question. And there are tons of other things that you can do in your food processor. I'd be happy to help you. If you're thinking of getting one and you want to know what else am I going to be making in this, I'm happy to help you find some things. We make a ton of stuff in it. Okay, now we did our flour, sugar, salt, baking powder, butter. Now let's do our vodka and water. And this is important. This is really important because what I have found, I used to recommend that people, and I still do, you want 5 tablespoons of water. And that is just what always works for me. And with these measurements, is 5 tablespoons. A lot of recipes will tell you, oh, it's add 3 and then as much more as you need. And for beginner pie crust makers, it's really hard to tell how much more you need. So I like a little more like cut and dry. So 5 tablespoons. However, if you're using a tablespoon like this to measure your water, I want to warn you, it's not always accurate. And so just for an example, I'm going to show you what I'm doing is I'm using this measuring cup to measure 5 tablespoons of liquid. And I'm also using a scale because I know 5 tablespoons of liquid is 75 milliliters. So I'm going to measure that. And we're going to see if we get to that using this tablespoon. So first up is 3 tablespoons of water. And that is 45 milliliters. So let's see what we get. So we do a tablespoon, 1, 2, 3. Well, I got 35 milliliters. Yeah. So this may be why, if you're using this to measure your water, this may be why you're getting a dry crust and not having enough water. And I've had a lot of people ask about that lately. They say, I follow your recipe exactly, but my crust is too dry. And I'm wondering if this is maybe why. And I feel like measuring spoons vary among themselves. Also, there's some human error when you're scooping it up. I'm not sure that it's fully to the top. So whatever's happening, whether it's the spoon or the measuring, this is not enough liquid. So I need to add to get to 45. That's how much more I had to add to get to 45. So if you do have a measuring cup like this, it helps. If you do have a scale, that helps. I know it's kind of a hassle to weigh all the ingredients if you're not used to it, but I do recommend it for if you're having trouble with a dry pie crust. So now we've got our 3 tablespoons water, and it should be cold, or at least cool, so we're not melting the butter, because we want those little pieces of butter in there that are going to steam and create flakes in the pie crust. Now, if you want to use vodka, which I do recommend, I think it makes a great crust. We're going to use 2 tablespoons of vodka, which is 30 milliliters. Now, any vodka will work. My dad brought this to my house the other day, and I have a feeling it's really expensive. So don't tell him I'm using it for a pie crust. And also, don't use something expensive. I just didn't have time to go get something else. So I thought, okay, I'm using vodka imported from Holland. So just don't tell. I'm sure he's not watching. Don't worry. Okay, so we're going to add 2 tablespoons, and we're going to try to get, this should be 30 milliliters to get to 75 milliliters. We're at 65. So pretty inaccurate on the measuring. 68. 71.
It's time to read a couple of.
Yeah, read some. Is this helpful? Hopefully. Anybody?
Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Dorothy Colin says she's watching from the UK.
Oh, thanks for watching. I'm sure you're probably not making an American flag pie in a few days, but thank you for watching. I hope there's lots to learn here still just about pies in general. So thank you for watching.
I'm not sure if I'm going to pronounce this right, but Uzel West Lewis says they're watching from Georgia.
Hello in Georgia. Hello. Thanks for watching. Y'all are awesome. I didn't know if anyone was going to see the message and join. So I'm so glad y'all are all here. Now let's go ahead and add, we have our 75 milliliters of vodka water, and we're going to just add that to our mixture here and then give that a few pulses. There we go. That looks good. It's plenty moist. Looks really good. Just scrape the sides a little. I'm going to show my armpits on TV. That's why I don't wear tank tops on video. Okay, now that's all done. Looks great. You can see if I reach in and grab a handful and squeeze it together, it easily holds together. If you press on it, it's not going anywhere. It's not falling apart. So you know your pie crust is done if you get to that stage. And I do think a little wetter is better than a little drier. So if you think, oh, this might be a little dry, I would go ahead and add a little more water because it's just a little better. If it'll be easier to work with if it's wetter. Now I'm going to use some Glad Press and Seal. Press and Seal is similar to plastic wrap. A lot of people ask, let me see if you can see this down here. A lot of people ask, oh, there goes my head. Okay, a lot of people ask why it's so noisy and it just has a different texture, but it's the same concept. A little easier to work with. So now we'll take our pie crust and just flip it right onto the Press and Seal. Oh. Coco's making noises down there. She's sleeping. And then I'm surprised we haven't heard from the bird yet. Gracie's in the other room.
What's she doing in there?
I don't know. Usually she's squawking. Okay. So this looks good. Now we'll just bring it together with the corners. There she goes. She's beeping. I just bring it together. Rather than a lot of people dump it on the counter and bring it together with their hands and flour, and that just adds more flour, which you don't want to do, and can warm up the crust because you're using your hands. So this is how I do it, and then you bring all the edges together, press down, give it a turn. Hello from Oklahoma Panhandle. Hello. Okay, so there's the pie crust, all done. Hopefully you can see there's some pieces of butter in there, little specks of butter. Those are what's going to help create the flakes. So now we'll put this in the refrigerator. It does need to rest. You want to let the gluten rest, and then you also want to let the butter firm up again. So because it's gotten pretty soft being out. So into the freezer. Oops. Okay.
Carol Ben said she's watching from Arkansas and she loves our channel.
Oh, thank you so much, Carol, for watching. I'm so glad you're enjoying the channel. It is such a joy to make the videos and share the recipes and then hear from y'all. Now, I did have a crust I made earlier. You can see there, even bigger pieces of butter. And I've had it in the refrigerator for a couple of hours. You do want to, as I mentioned, let it rest. And now we're going to roll it out. Okay, there's Gracie. Usually I would bring the crust out of the refrigerator a little bit early just because it's a little bit hard, but it slipped my mind, as many things do these days. Okay, there's the bird. Hello, Gracie. So it may be a little bit hard to work with at first, but what you can do is just press it out with your hands, and that will kind of warm it up a little bit as you're also pressing it out. Press it down. Okay. So we're just doing some of the work of the rolling pin by pressing it out with my hands. And we're definitely not kneading it in any way. If you're kneading it, creates a lot of or activates gluten, so you don't want to do that. You don't want a lot of gluten in your crust. My flour. you will need a little bowl of flour when you're rolling out your crust. Now, I always say you don't want to have a lot of active gluten in your crust, but then someone said, what about no gluten in your crust? What if you used, all water or all vodka instead of water, and ideally create much less gluten? Well, it was an interesting question, but then I thought about, when I make a gluten-free pie crust with a gluten-free flour, it's actually pretty hard to keep that crust together. So gluten does serve a purpose and is actually beneficial for a pie crust. You want a little bit to kind of hold it together and be able to work with it. Otherwise, it just can be really crumbly. So, okay, let me get my rolling pin. Any other questions, Elena?
Let me see. The insecure chef said Meridian put it in the refrigerator or the freezer.
Hi, Insecure Chef. Welcome back. You're so sweet to join. You're always so helpful. So I'll look forward to your advice as we go. Yes, fridge or freezer works to help it rest. It's so funny.
A little dance.
Okay. So the crust was pretty cold, so I'm warming it up a little with my hands. Okay. I do see some cracks in there, and that's okay. It doesn't mean that it just means it's not overworked. A few cracks in your crust is not a problem. As long as it doesn't feel, as long as it's not just like crumbling and falling apart. A few cracks otherwise are okay. Okay, now let's give it a roll. Put a little flour on my rolling pin, and we're gonna roll this out into about a 12-inch circle in order to fit it into my 9-inch pie plate. And you do want to have some flour underneath to make sure it doesn't stick. And then after each roll, if you can see, I am turning it 1/4 turn, because that will help keep this in a nice round circle and also help prevent sticking. Or if it does stick, you'll know right away.
Ainsley's here. She said hi.
Oh, hi, Ainsley. So sweet to join. Okay. What do y'all think? More live streams? And what topics? Are there anything you're wanting to learn that a live stream would be helpful where you can ask questions? Let me know. Also, who is making a pie for 4th of July? I would love to hear. Are you making one, and which one are you going to make? So just rolling this out.
Karen McClure said she's watching from Omaha, Nebraska.
Oh, very cool. Never been in Nebraska. Okay, this looks great. Let me get my pie plate to see if it's big enough. So that's how I measure. I get my 9-inch Pyrex pie plate, which I really love and do recommend. You're just going to set it down on top of your dough. Hopefully you can see that. Show you. Okay. So you set it on top of the dough like that. And as you can see, there's about 2 inches all the way around. And that's exactly what you're going for. So we will pick up the pie plate. Then I'm going to fold that in half.
Laura said, my birthday is July 3rd. I'm making a berry pie.
Oh, nice. Okay, then we take our folded pie crust, set it right on the Pyrex, and undo that. Then you've got your pie crust here in the center. And I do even have a couple holes, couple cracks, nothing to worry about. Just take a deep breath. You can kind of patch those up with your fingers. Like that. And we're just setting it into the pie plate. We're not pressing it down or stretching it. If you stretch pie crust, it will stretch back. So you really want it to stay in place up on the edge here. And this pie crust does have a great lip on it, which makes it easy to rest the dough right on top of it. So I'm folding it under, resting it right on top.
Christina Frost asked, how long can I store prepared dough that is not rolled out in a pie plate?
So great question. Prepared dough that's in the plastic disc, that can be stored in the freezer for 2 to 3 months. And when you want to use it, you just defrost it in the refrigerator overnight. And then you can roll it out. Let's see.
Can you do it in the refrigerator?
So great. Sorry, that's the other answer I was going to give. Thank you for asking. If you want to store it in your refrigerator, you only want to leave it in there for up to 2 days. If you go longer,
You want help?
well, I'm just trying to get it all. I think I got it. Okay. Longer than 2 days in the refrigerator, it'll start to oxidize. You'll start to see these like kind of gray spots on it, and it's fine. You can still use it. I think it's right. Okay. No, because I want to see the pie.
Oh.
I want to see the pie.
Whoopsies.
Yeah. So you can leave it in the refrigerator longer than 2 days, but it may start to oxidize with these little gray dots, and those will go away upon baking. So you can, on the 3rd day, you can, if it is spotty, you can still roll it out and use it, and you won't see it after baking. But going on 4 and 5 days, it's not good. So 2 days, maybe 3 in the fridge, in the freezer, 2 to 3 months, thaw overnight in the refrigerator. Great question. It's such a great thing to make ahead. Just leave it in there. Anytime you need one, you can grab it. Okay, I'm not going to make a decorative edge on this right now because we're going to add our stars and stripes. So this is just going to go straight to the freezer. You can make this in advance. So you can make this today if you want to bake it on the 4th or bake it on the 3rd. And then you can just wrap in plastic, throw it in the freezer, and leave it in there in the pie plate, rolled out. You can leave it in there for 2 to 3 months. So that I really love, because then when you want to make a pie, you just like pull it out and you've got a homemade pie crust in your pie plate ready to go. So I'm going to throw this in the freezer. I'll be right back. Okay. If you haven't yet, be sure to like and subscribe. It helps my channel so much. I'm really trying to grow, and that just helps immensely. Okay, we've made our crust. Now, let's see. Let's roll out one more crust real quickly so we can cut out our stars and stripes. You know what? I have the other crust in there, but I think for now, I'm just going to use this. This is because there's no shame in this game. This is a homemade, pre-made crust you buy at the grocery store. If you're in a pinch, feel free to grab one. This is a Trader Joe's crust, and this will just be easy. It actually is kind of rolled out. That never happens. Always breaks. Huh. Well, that's a first. It always.
What do you do if it does break?
You ball it up. It happens in all my videos when I use a store-bought crust. If that happens, you ball it up and roll it out again. I don't even know what to do since it didn't break. I'm so not used to it. Okay, so we'll just kind of roll this out. And the shape of this is not as important, because we are going to cut it into our stars and stripes. Okay, let's get our star cutter, which is this little star cutter. It's a 1-inch star cutter, and I think it fits really well. They have a good set on Amazon of all different sizes and includes this one. So we're going to cut out, I would say cut out maybe 6 to 8 stars. You want to have extra just in case one gets smushed. Just go ahead and cut out some more. And we'll set these aside. And then we're going to put these in the refrigerator to keep them nice and cold. Okay. There's some stars. That one looks more like a, I don't know. Some of the stars are lopsided, but as my daughter said the other day when I was worried about something being lopsided, she said, "Mom, we're all lopsided." I was like, we are. So I love that attitude. It's fine. It's fine. Okay. Get this out. Let me grab one thing here. Any new comments we need to answer?
I'm not seeing any questions.
No questions? Okay.
Mary Cara's, I think, said, I will be making your apple pie. It's American.
Oh, nothing more American than apple pie. Apple pie is great for the 4th of July. I have done that in the past.
Christina Frost said, watching from Missouri.
Missouri. Hello. Okay. There we go. We've got some stars cut out, and I put them on a parchment lined baking sheet. We're going to throw it in the refrigerator, or if you want to throw it in the freezer, make a head type thing, wrap it in saran wrap, throw it in the freezer, and you can leave it in there for a month or so whenever you need it. Next, we're going to cut out our stripes, and this is for the stripes. I think I say cut about I said 8 to 10 stars and 5 to 6 long strips. So it depends as many as you want. I'm using a lattice cutter, which cuts the strips the same size. If you don't have one, use a pizza cutter, use a sharp knife. If you want to be all precise about it and you're using a knife or a pizza cutter, you can get out your ruler and mark off, 1 inch or 1.5 inch stripes. Rulers feel so fussy, so I don't love to bring them in. I just say, just approximate, it's fine. Or you can use one of these, which does it evenly. So if you have one of these, it's a Wilton brand. I think they sell them at Walmart online. So I'm just going to press down. And then once it starts to cut the dough back here, you want to hold it. So put your fingers on it. Otherwise, the dough is going to get stuck and start rolling together. So you want to hold the dough down and cut it like that. And then do another set here. And I usually try to line it up close enough. And another set. And that's probably plenty. We have, oops, that one broke.
How many do you need, do you think?
So I did one. I think on my original pie, I did only 4. But I think it looks, now that I'm looking at it, I think maybe 5 might be nice. A few more stripes.
It's good to have extra.
Exactly. It's good to have extra. Always better. So I'm going to set these on the parchment as well. And some will be short, so you won't even need all these long ones, but I'll fit them on here. Now, and this one, and then I'll throw these in the refrigerator just as they are to keep them nice and cold. Now, okay, Now we can save this dough. We can save this dough for in case we need anything else. And I'm just going to cut this here. So on my first, or not my first, but the American Pie flag that I made the other day, let me show you. It's been over here. Here is the pie. And I will show you, I did this little corner here for the blueberries. What I did is I used some dough to make that little corner there and to hold the blueberries separate from the strawberries. And, you know, it's just a nice way to hold them in place. My concern now, though, is that since this is cooking in the middle of all this juice, this is going to be pretty doughy. And I don't think anyone really wants to eat a really doughy pie crust. So there's two options. You can either make this little corner with, you know, some extra pie crust, which we have, and I can show you how to do that. Or if you don't want this extra dough in your crust, I'll show you how to just make a little wall with some foil and then pull it out before you bake and all the fruit stays in place. So those are your two choices. I think if I were doing it again, and I think today I will do it with just the foil rather than putting extra dough in there. Okay, so put these away. And I've had many of you comment that extra pie dough is great to roll out and cut out into shapes or cut out into strips or twists. And then you add cinnamon and sugar and bake it, and it's a real treat. So you can do that if you like. Okay, put this away. Now, let's put this in here. Can y'all hear Gracie? Gracie is our African gray parrot. My uncle passed away, and so I inherited his African gray parrot, and she is a hoot. She's really chatty and makes all these funny noises, and we really enjoy her. So, and I've enjoyed all of your comments about her and advice for as being a new parrot owner and all that. So thank you for that. Again, such a bright spot on the internet. Thank you a million times. I'm going to rinse my hands real quick.
2D said, love Gracie and Cocoa Puff.
Oh. Can anyone guess what Cocoa Puff is doing right now? This will tell this will tell me if you actually watch my shows. Tell me what Cocoa is doing right now. Okay. Next up, let's start on our berry filling. Okay. We'll start with the strawberry mixture. Oh, look, Sue got it. Sleeping. Elizabeth Taylor got it. Napping. Check.
Oh,
She's not snoring, but I think we're on the way there. She knows when these lights go on. She's like,
she's calmed down.
I'm out. Okay, to make the strawberry pie, the strawberry portion of the pie, this is very similar to my strawberry streusel pie, which if you don't want to make an American flag pie, you just want to make a strawberry pie, hop over there. That's a very similar recipe, but has a streusel topping, so also delicious. So let's start with that. And I am going to use, I say you can use either strawberry or raspberry jam. Raspberry is quite a bit more tart. So if you like things more tart, go with the raspberry jam. If you want it a little sweeter, go with the strawberry jam. Strawberry jam is going to give some nice texture, color, consistency, kind of some strength to the strawberries, because when strawberries cook, they turn a little mushy and bland and almost lose their color. So this is why I use the jam. It helps with that. Let me get my measuring cup. Where is it? Oh, that's not it. A third cup. Okay, one half. I'm my third cup.
I think the Insecure Chef is in New Jersey.
Who is?
The Insecure Chef.
Oh, I didn't know that. You're in New Jersey? My sister-in-law lives in New Jersey, and we go there almost every year. We should do a collab. Okay.
Felicia.
Say what?
Felicia. Felicita said Atlanta, Georgia.
Oh, Atlanta, Georgia. Nice. Got people from all over. Isn't this fun? Okay, so I'm starting with 1/3 cup strawberry jam. And I am going to look at my recipe because I can't remember everything. My kids can vouch for that. Okay, now we're going to add 3 tablespoons of cornstarch. With berry pies, you really do need to have a good thickener. And if you want to use minute tapioca, that will work. I like cornstarch a little better. And yeah, so we've got our cornstarch. Next, we'll do some salt. It's a 1/2 teaspoon. Half teaspoon. And next is 1 teaspoon vanilla. Let's see if I can find a teaspoon. I thought I had this all set out. Okay.
What's the cornstarch for?
Cornstarch?
Yeah.
The cornstarch is to thicken the berries. Berries have so much juice in them. If you don't use a thickener, it's just going to be a soup, like a berry soup. So you definitely want to use a thickener in the berry pie. So now I'm just whisking this together and kind of making a mess. But you just want to whisk that together until smooth. Any other questions?
I'm not seeing any.
Okay. Okay. Mainly you want to get that cornstarch pretty smooth so you don't have lumps of cornstarch in the filling. And that looks good. Just like that. And then we'll set this aside. Smells good. Okay, we did that. Now let's get our strawberries. Actually, let's hop over and do our blueberries. Blueberries, I have about 1 cup of blueberries. And to that, we're going to add 1/2 tablespoon cornstarch. I'm going to switch bowls here. So some cornstarch, I'll do a little pinch of salt, and 1 tablespoon sugar. Now we can give that a toss and then set this aside.
Marie said, I feel like I'm sitting here watching you. So cool.
Oh, I feel like you're here in my kitchen. I wish you guys were. I used to teach live classes, and I really miss it. So this is a close second. I'm glad we can do it. Okay, I'm going to set those aside. And now let's do our strawberries. We're ready for this. Oh, I'm going to preheat the oven too to 415 degrees. Okay, here I have some diced strawberries. It's about 1 1/4 pounds. And to that, I'm going to add 1/4 cup sugar.
Juan Jones asked, where do I find the recipe?
The recipe is on my website, mariesaba.com, and American flag pie should be right on that front page. If not, there's a little recipe search where you can search for recipes and pull up American flag pie and you should be able to find it. Now we're going to toss the strawberries with the sugar, and you don't want to let this sit for a long time. So the timing of this, as I set out in the recipe, is kind of important. You don't want to let this sit for more than 10 minutes. What happens when you put sugar with berry or strawberries, it's going to start to pull out the juice. And you're going to be getting a lot of juice coming out. And you don't want to be pouring like, a gallon of juice in your pie crust. That can make a really soggy pie crust. So it's better just to kind of get the juice extraction started and then quickly put that into the pie. So the timing on that I do think is important because you don't want to be dumping too much juice liquid into your pie crust. Okay, so we've got our strawberries, we've got our blueberries. Let me run and get our pie crust and we'll move along. Okay, here's our pie crust. It is not frozen solid, but it is very cold. And it's going to take us at least 10 minutes to assemble everything. So by the time it is ready to go in the oven, it's going to be a lot warmer. And so for people that are worried about taking something out of the freezer and then putting it into the oven, I do understand the concern. And people are worried that the change of temperature is going to make this crack. It's just a glass pie plate. I've never had that happen, but of course, if you are worried about it, then use a metal pie plate or don't leave it in the freezer for so long. The benefit of having the pie crust in the freezer is that it's going to be really firm, which makes it less likely to absorb a lot of liquid. So you're more likely to have a nice, dry, firm, crispy bottom crust. You're also more likely to have your pie crust stay in place while it cooks. When you have a warm pie crust, it's more a tendency to slip down the edges of the pie plate. So tons of reasons, I could tell you more, for having a very cold pie crust going in the oven. So let's keep this cold. And now I think I'm going to try the foil option rather than, at this point, you could use pie dough to create a little edge here. And I just made it line up with this edge of the pie plate. It's about 3.5 inches on each side. Really easy. You can glue it down with some water. Let me see. Get this out here. Just to show you a little bit more what I'm talking about. You would have like a piece of dough like this. And this one's a little bit too weak. I'll probably fold it in half.
He said it's really fun to watch.
Oh, I'm so glad you're enjoying it. Can't believe Am I as interesting as Brian Trahan? Anyway, you take your piece and you make your little corner and you glue it down with a little water. But if you've been listening, you probably are going to say, I'm not going to do that because it may leave a doughy, piece of really doughy piece there. So instead, what you can do is make a little wall with your aluminum foil. And, the other thing is you can make like this. I've seen American pies. If you want like a lot of blueberry, you could do a wall like this. And this would be blueberry, and this would be your strawberry with stripes, and this would be your stars. So you can, that's a great way to include more blueberries if you want to. But otherwise, you can make this little corner here, however big you like. Just kind of shape that in there. A little too big. There's Gracie. So funny. Okay, so there's our little aluminum wall corner that we have cornered off. Now, because there is no dough in the middle, the strawberries and blueberries are probably going to kind of run together while they're cooking. It doesn't matter. Don't worry. Trust me, it's going to be so fun and people are going to be so impressed. Don't worry if it's like it's not perfect. We're just not going for that. Pies are not perfect. They're rustic. They're homemade. They're delicious. So that's the goal. Now we'll take not yet. Okay. Now we'll take our strawberries that we mix with sugar. Now we're going to toss those in with our cornstarch mixture. See how this timing matters? We don't want all that juice coming out of the strawberries until the cornstarch has time to heat up and starts to absorb some of that liquid and thicken some of that liquid. Okay. Oh, that smells so good. The dog? Oh, the dog says no. Cocoa Puff disagrees. Okay, now we can pour our strawberries right into this side here. There we go. It smells so good. Oh my gosh. Yum. And then you do want to press your berries down. That will take out some space, if there's any space in between them. And also just help it all fit in there so you don't have big holes when you go to cut it later. Okay. So we'll give those a press. This looks good. Oops. And now time for the blueberries. We'll take our blueberries. These you don't have to be as worried about. The juice doesn't start to come out until it gets warmer. So if you can see here, we're just going to dump our blueberries into our corner like that. And this kind of depends on your corner. I'll make it a little bigger there. Press those down a little bit. See how we have a little corner of blueberries. We've got our red, and then we can just pull up our foil, and there we go.
Could you leave the foil in there while it's baking?
Yes, I think you could. If you want to keep the juices separate, you could. I know I get a lot of people saying they're not interested in cooking with aluminum foil right now, so that's part of the reason I didn't. But whatever you want to try is totally fine. Okay. Probably could have used a few more strawberries in here. You don't want to overflow it because the juicy and the bubbling can overflow, but you also don't want a pie that's kind of sunk down. And I feel like I could have used a few more strawberries in there, but it's going to be great, just as it is. Okay, now we have our stars and stripes, and these you can do as many as you like. We'll just set our stars on the blueberries. Just whatever fits. Oh, yeah, just the right amount. So I did use, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I used 8 stars this time, so a little bit bigger section than last time. Now we'll do our stripes, and I'll do, let's see, these are about 1-inch stripes. I'm going to do these a little closer together. Looks good. And then you can trim off the edge. You want to leave a little bit on each edge to tuck under, but you can trim it. So we'll do another one. Trim that. And we'll do one more here under the blueberries. Trim that off. And then we just need some short pieces. So we'll just set that there. Hopefully you can see that. There we go. Hopefully you can see, we're just going to set these here, trim that, and use a nice flat edge. Oops. There's another one right there. There we go. Ta-da. Now we'll trim these edges off. And now we're just going to sort of, you can use a little water if you like. Water kind of acts like glue when you use it with pie dough. So you can kind of glue it on there and glue it on. And then you just kind of seal that crust to your outer crust like that. I love hearing from so many people who say, you know, I'm 66 or I'm 82 or I'm, 75 and I've never made a pie crust until I watched your channel. And I just think that is so cool that y'all are getting out and trying something that has intimidated you for a long time, and you're setting up and trying it. And a lot of you having some really great success and a lot having, still some questions, but I think it's great. I think it's a really special skill to know and fun to share with other people. So there is our American pie. If you wanted to do a little egg wash, you can. I'm not going to. I like it just the way it is. And you can do a decorative edge around the edge of the crust, but I kind of like it just flat. Just makes it look more like an American pie. So this is ready to go in the oven. Okay. Now.
Fast. Are you taking orders for a few of these pies?
You know where to find them. Poor family, though. They see something and it smells good and they're like, ooh, can we cut it? And I'm like, don't cut it. Nobody cut it. I have to take a picture of it.
It's torture.
I know. That's the business of it. It's the reality. Okay. I've got a parchment lined baking sheet. I did have somebody ask me recently. She said, when I use a baking sheet under my pie crust, I can't get a cooked crust on the bottom. So if you're having issues with it, don't use the baking sheet under. Just set it on directly onto the rack. And what you can do, just to be careful, especially with a berry pie, is put this on the next rack underneath it. So at least if anything does drip over, you're still going to catch it. Because the worst thing in the world, not really, but something that's not fun to do is clean your oven when you have butter or sugary fruit mixture at the bottom. So I always bake it on a baking sheet lined with parchment paper. That will catch any butter that melts off, catch any fruit that bubbles over. I doubt this one will bubble over because it is kind of sitting low in the crust, which is fine. But that's what I always do recommend. Plus, when you carry the baking sheet like this, you're not having to put your hands directly on the pie crust, which can break the crust. So lots of benefits to using a baking sheet. And I do recommend holding it with two hands. If you hold it with one hand, the pie can slide to one side and tip over. And that is from experience. Lost a very good apple pie that way. Okay. Now this is going in a 415 degree oven. Will you open the oven?
Yeah. Already smells good.
It is, isn't it? So good. And if you notice that it tends to be very hot, or if it has hot spots, keep that in mind as you're baking and adjust your temperatures. Keep an eye on it. And if it seems to be getting darker quicker, it looks too dark, then I'll show you some tips for that. But just keep an eye on it because everybody's oven is different. Now we're going to put it in there. I always forget the times. We're going to do 415 degrees for 20 minutes. And part of the reason of benefit of using a hot oven for the first 20 minutes is that it allows your crust to really set up where it is on the pie plate. If you put it in a warmer oven, like 350 degrees, it's more likely to kind of melt, especially if the crust is warm. It'll just kind of sink and melt. And whereas if you use a hot oven going onto a cold crust, it's much more likely to really sear it into place, which is exactly what you want, because you want it to stay up on the edge. And then after 20 minutes, we will reduce the heat to 375 and cook for 40 to 45 minutes. Now, this is really important because, again, ovens vary. You must see bubbling in the fruit filling before you take it out of the oven. If you do not see bubbling, it has not reached a boil, and your cornstarch won't activate properly and won't thicken all the juice. So you must see bubbling. Just a few pops is fine, but there has to be bubbles in that fruit filling before you take it out. That's the only way you're going to have a nice pie that's all set up and easy to cut. So if there's any questions on how long to bake it, look for that. That's the most important thing. And if your crust starts to get a little too brown, I have a crust shield, which you can just probably when we move to 375, I'll probably just set it on there. And that's going to protect the outer edge from getting overcooked, too dark. So this is a good thing to have. If you don't have one, you can quickly make one out of foil. I'll show you real quick. Basically, what you would do is take a piece of foil. I fold it in half and then say, this is my pie plate. You just put it down half of the pie plate and kind of shape it. Press down to shape the foil around the pie plate. Then you can see where the inner circle of the pie plate would be. You're just going to cut out right inside that circle. Like that. And then you open this and you set that on your pie plate, and that acts as a pie shield to cover the edges of your pie. So this is great. You could do the same thing with parchment paper if you don't want to use foil, but I've only done it with foil or with this pie shield, which really comes in handy. So that's 2 ways to protect your crust if it's getting a little bit brown. Let's see. We have the bake time going. You do want to cool for at least 4 hours. You really want to let it set up, get nice and cool, and then it'll be much easier to serve. You can make it the day before. That's great. 2 days ahead is fine as well. I don't store it in the refrigerator. There's not any dairy in there in the filling, so I feel comfortable just storing it on the counter. And I do want to show you one other tip here. Let's see. Are you taking orders? Oh, that's from John. Letting all right. So fun to recipe. Just making sure I got.
I don't think there's many questions today.
No? Okay, all good. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for joining. The last thing I want to show you, cutting pie can be kind of hard. There goes Gracie. So the tip I always give is to use a nice sharp knife. Let's see if I have one.
Jack over here.
I know. Use a nice sharp knife, and then when you cut your pie, always cut 2 slices. Having that second slice is going to allow the first slice to move a little bit more, and it's easier to fish it out. Now, the first slice is always going to be a little messier than your other slices, but always make sure you have 2 slices cut like I have here, and it'll be easier to scoop out. Get a plate. And this is really delicious served with some whipped cream. The strawberry filling is so good. So there we have you can see The crust on the bottom is not soggy at all. It's nice and brown and crisp, which I know a lot of you are going for. It's not soupy. It's held in place without being like gelatinous. So I think we've got a great texture here. It smells amazing. And, of course, I have to have a bite.
Oh,
my helper may have to as well. It's so good. Hey, it's almost dinner time.
Hey, you have some too.
It's like a little tart, but so much great strawberry flavor. Nice and soft, not mushy. Really good. I should cut a little. Really good, and really good with whipped cream. Same thing for the blueberry pie. That cut really nicely. Although I still don't love this extra piece of dough that I did that time, but this looks really good. Otherwise, maybe just a little taste of that too.
Yeah, we'll try the blueberry.
Now, do you think your strawberry is too tart?
I think they're great.
Yeah.
But I think if you're sensitive, you could try some.
Yeah, you could add a little
Okay.
more sugar if you wanted. Yeah, try them. Everybody let's thank Elaine for her help. She was awesome. She came through. Sweet girl.
Oh, that was really good. I think I like blueberry.
You like it blueberry better? Really, really tasty. Yum. Okay. I think that's everything. Oh, that's cool. A metal pie slice that goes in the pan prior to putting the crust in that acts as a guide when removing the first piece. Very helpful. Ooh, that's very cool. Maria Cunha, thanks for watching. I'm glad you enjoyed the demonstration and feel more confident. Good. Looks delicious. Sue, thank you. Ainsley, looks yummy. Thumbs up, everybody. I agree. Thumbs up. Thanks for watching. If we do, Maurice Cunha says, yes, thank you, sweet Elaine, for helping Mama. You did great.
Aww.
And Elaine said, yes, Elaine. Actually just says yes. But if you'd like to see more live tutorials, let me know. Send me an email or leave a comment somewhere. Also, if there's a good time for live tutorials, let me know that too. I don't know when people are most available, so this worked for me, so I just went with it. But I'd love to do it when it's convenient for you. Thank you so much for watching. Keep watching. Send in requests. Love hearing from y'all. We've got lots of good recipes coming up, so y'all stay tuned. All right, y'all have a happy 4th. Thank you so much.